Welcome to our second review of the book The Middle Daughter by Chika Onigo. I'm so excited and I have been waiting to do the final review of this book. As I had earlier told you, I think the title The Middle Daughter is what attracted me to the book. Today we are reviewing The Middle Daughter in a chill place, and once we are done with the review, I will take you a tour and we just do a review of where we are sitting today as we do our final review. I think we can hear the birds chirping outside and we can feel the environment is calm, composed, and good for a good book review. So from our last episode, we got to the point where Nani had 3 children. She was married to Ephraim. We have the mother in the context, we have Go, and I had earlier mentioned the clinic was running and the activities that were taking place in the clinic were not acceptable in society, but it was not clearly known out there. And Nani's mother had so much influence in society, so she was able to cover all these things up, and she was making an income for herself to be able to sustain her children. So the point where the authorities catch up with Nani's mother and they are forced to run to exile. They are to move to the US. So in the midst of all this, Ugo feels that there's no need for her to leave her sister behind, and so Ugo decides to go and check on her sister and check if she wants to also move with them to the US. Unfortunately, Nani is she loves her kids very much, and she cannot make the decision to leave her kids behind. So after their conversation with Ugo leaves her phone and some money to help her sustain, as she has informed her that she cannot leave her kids behind. So Ugo and the mother move to the USA. Nani is left behind. So when Nani is left behind, she constantly gets in touch with Ugo. They start having a conversation. Ugo encourages her and wants her to move back to the US, but unfortunately Nani is she has great love for her kids and she cannot do that. So an opportunity arises. So one time Ephraim decides to go for a church event. And she carries all the kids with her and leaves Nani behind. This gives Nani time to think and make a decision. One of the neighbors who has never interacted with her also visits to understand, at least they have gotten an opportunity to discuss and understand what goes on in the life of Ugo, of Nani in this, who they see living in their area. So Nani makes a decision. She goes back to she decides to move. She decides to go back and see how her home is. She gets there. It was very scary for her. The thought of leaving her kids behind, the thought of Ephraim's reaction tends to hold her back, but this time she goes. After she makes the decision, she gets there, she gets in touch with Ugo. Ugo encourages her after a discussion, and she's not willing to relocate unless she doesn't want to relocate to the USA. She says she wants to get her kids so that she can take them through school and all that process. So she gets in touch with Aunt Enuka. When Aunt Enuka gets to hear of Nani, she decides to come and see her in the house. Aunt Enuka coming to see her, she's really saddened by the state at which she finds Nani in. Nani looks old. From a young girl, she looks old, she looks neglected, she's not well taken care of. This really affects Aunt Enuka. They start having a conversation. This is the first time Nani gets to open up on what really happened and how she got into her current situation. After a discussion with Aunt Enuka, Aunt Enuka promises her to get her kids and get justice for whatever happened. I think if this opportunity came up earlier, Nani would have gotten justice earlier. She would have not even gone further to where she was at that point in time, as she would have gotten help. But at least Nani gets help, and she stays with Aunt Enuka as they strategize on how to get. I think when she moves to Aunt Enuka's place, Aunt Enuka takes her to the salon to have her hair done. She gets new clothes, and that young, vibrant girl who Aunt Enuka knew, who was previously there, starts coming out, and she starts feeling good about herself. Now they start planning. Aunt Enuka uses her connections to bring in resources together so that they can go and get Nani's kids. So they decide, one morning they wake up, they have breakfast and decide to go to get their kids. It is not an interesting scenario for kids to see this violence and whatever is happening, but Enuka and Nani go, they get the kids, Ephraim is arrested. It is not easy for kids to see the violence and all these things happening. First, this is your parent, and being exposed to such a situation where kids are seeing these fights that are happening between parents, it's not very healthy, but sometimes things are forced. I think it also triggers our minds to think in relationships, in raising kids, there are situations where conflict occurs, and kids who fall as victims because there are fights between parents tend to go through certain levels of trauma, which sometimes is not seen as people are trying to get justice and fighting for themselves. So children who are innocent are exposed to certain aspects of life which it is not intended for them, but sometimes people have to fight. I think there cannot be peace in the absence of hope. For us to get whatever we want, sometimes we have to have the fight. But that's just a current situation that it's a topic that I have really seen and I have experienced in marital issues where kids are involved. Sometimes parents tend to expose kids to such situations, which is not the right angle that maybe parents would wish to take, but exposing kids to situations where they see the fights that are happening between parents, it's really traumatizing, and kids grew up with a lot of trauma, a lot of fear, sometimes neglected. And I think in situations where there are marital conflict, as parents also try to heal, they should also put it in their minds to make sure kids also are part of the conversation. They look for counseling, kids understand, and to avoid traumas that affect kids in the future. That is my feeling, and that's why I'm feeling, yes, the fight happened, these things happened. When Nani got pregnant, Nani was raped by Ephraim, these kids were not present, but they were exposed because of circumstances to whatever violence that occurred. So when kids are exposed to violence, I think another aspect that we picked, Ephraim was very violent and she would beat Nani very badly in the presence of kids. So exposing kids to such environments in the long run tends to have an impact on their lives. Sometimes kids totally evade such kinds of people, or they attracted to people who are violent. How as parents, how as kids maybe who have experienced such situations, how do we ensure we are intentional and come out of such situations? I think that's a big question. It's something that we are left to think about, because in the long run, there are things that we cannot avoid, but they happen, and how do we become aware and start the healing process, even maybe in our adulthood, because sometimes parents were not even aware this was going to affect their kids, but we need to also communicate that and have information out there. If as a kid you grew up exposed to maybe a violent environment, how do you come out of that? So it's just that building. I'm very big on seek help, psychology, be aware of whatever was your surrounding, because as you grew up as a child, because subconsciously or consciously it has affected the person that you have turned out to be. So I think if you grew up in such an area, I think it's for us to take the intentionality to know that if violence was part of my childhood, violence was part of growing up, what impact did it have on my life, and how do I overcome and make sure it doesn't affect my future? Because I think it's our responsibility to heal ourselves. That is not a responsibility that we have to leave. I think maybe we got through traumas because of how our parents grew up and what they went through, but I think it is our responsibility to ensure that we create an environment where we heal ourselves so that our children don't experience the same kind of traumas that we went through growing. So another key highlight that I also picked, Ephraim not being very educated and Nani being very educated tends to be a threat to their relationship. And that's why Ephraim is very reluctant to have the kids educated. I think their firstborn, Holly, when she got to 3, Nani pushes for her to go to school, but Ephraim, out of fear, she refuses and even ends up beating Nani. And it still raises the question. I think for me, it's very big. If sometimes it's a conversation that is relevant, but men need to be leaders, and if a man does not put himself in a position for him to lead, it becomes difficult for the woman to catch up. So to catch up or also even respect. So if men are in a position, I'll put it in the African setting. A man is supposed to be a leader. A man is supposed to be a provider, protector. And if a man does not take that position, and it is a situation where a woman has to pick up and do that, or a woman tends to be more privileged in a higher position, it always brings a fight. So I believe a man should be the provider, the leader, the head. A woman is there to support, nurture whatever is in the home. So it is not a fight for people to become equals. It's just a fight. Everybody has their role to play. But now if it tends to end inferiority complex, and men's egos are very big, so if a man feels that his ego is threatened, he will find a way to put the woman down. That is why we see violence coming in. People are not big on developing their partners because of the threat. So men should just take their lead, become the leader and all. I'm not saying that people should not support each other, but I think I'm an African, a big believer in African traditions. I just believe equality is not something I would work or advocate for, but I'm on equity. Everybody has a role to play, and if we played our roles right and took up our responsibilities, I think it would be better. So once Ephraim is arrested, Nani begins her life with her children. She gets into contact. Her mom has so much regret because she was not present for her daughter when she needed her the most, and that's why she has gone through these things. She has 3 children. She's not even in the presence of she's not even present to see her children, her grandchildren, and that is where regret comes in. And that's why I'm very big on I think the topic on parents-children relationship, because in the long run, this is what is going to make sure your child is safe and is exposed to the right environment and protected. Despite all the challenges, despite all the setbacks and everything, Nani is able to overcome and come out strong and show people her real character. And despite all the challenges that people go through, you can still stand up and become a better version of yourself. I think that is what brings the hope that Nani is able to bring out. Yes, she's a mother, she has 3 kids, but your life doesn't stop when all these things come in. But in reality, you get hope, and you can, no matter the challenges that you go through, you can just overcome them and decide to go above them and build a life for yourself. Everything is just in our hands, and how you perceive it, how you take it, and just the decision to just move past the challenges that you had and just focus and build a new future. So I think Nani manages to start a restaurant. She takes her children to school. She even changes the names of the kids. I think the names that Ephraim had given her kids was Holy, God's Own, yes, I think Holy, God's Own, and Praise Him. From this book, I think for me, I have so many things that I can relate with. First, we begin when sometimes we lose a loved one, somebody we can entrust to, and it becomes very difficult for people to go past it. How do we make sure, creating a support system to help people come through, parents being there for their kids, the impact of education in our current lifestyles, for ladies, and what does it mean to be an educated woman. It also brings out the topic on men. I think men need to just know their position in society and step up and take it up. Men are supposed to be leaders, men are supposed to be providers, and men are supposed to be the people who show people how to go. So I am just it's a topic it's a theme that comes about, but it also sees how Nani is able to move from the point where she is struggling. She's a girl not exposed to getting the wrong people who she looks for comfort in, after which she gets comfort and she moves to the wrong direction. But despite all that, she's able to overcome and come back to and become the woman that she was meant to be. But also parents need to be present for their children to avoid regret and be present on how they are required in the children's life. So I am very happy to finally finish the review of the middle daughter, and I am excited to have you on board as we will be looking at our next read. And I think as from the suggestions from you, we will be picking a book. Please feel free to comment down there on a possible book that you would want us to go through, review, and share our insights on, because as I said, reading should never be a solitary journey. And we are here to learn from each other and just learn from each other and relate books to the real life too. In reality, books are just a reflection of what actually happens in society. So I can't wait for our second read, and I will be planning for something in March. We do a book review, so please feel free to share your suggestions on books you would want us to read and review. And I will be sharing more details on my social media handles on the book that we have decided, the location, and where we will be doing our next review with you people. So I can't wait. I'm so excited. Please get time, read The Middle Daughter by Chike Onigwe. I think you'll have more insights. I've just given you a tip of the iceberg. We'll have more discussions to share, more thoughts, more insights. I think it's a good book. It's very thought-provoking, and it also shows what society is, the perception of people on education, and it's also a book of hope, because sometimes women feel like when they have kids, their life ends there, but there is more. Life goes on. Like, you can build your life, you can stand up and make a future for yourself and also for your kids, and it is okay to do it alone. If it's not working, don't die trying to make it work. If it's working well, that's a great thing, and it's actually supposed to be celebrated. But in the long run, choose your peace, choose yourself, and choose your happiness. And I think the best person who can push for whatever you want or go for whatever you want. People will try to tell you things, but in the long run, all decisions come from within. And once you make that decision, then great things happen. So I am so excited. Thank you. Review of The Middle Daughter by As promised, I'll take you over a review of where we had the chance to do our book tour. Yes, this is an amazing place. First, me looking amazing and enjoying the view and every bit of it. So yes, this is a really nice place. The location for our book review was Chaka Ranch. I think the views, the environment was very calm, collected, just the right one for a good book review. Yes, that is me feeling myself and enjoying every bit of every moment that we had. Yes, so Chaka Ranch is a really nice place. It's located around 3 hours from Nairobi. So for us, we had a means of transport. I was attending a work conference, and that is how I managed. This is the second day where we were lined up for all the fun and all the enjoyment. They have a lot of activities and amazing food.
What do you have for yourself?
So just to mention, Chaka Ranch is in the Mount Kenya region. Yes, and this is a place you would want to be. The activities are so many. They have a fun park, me hydrating, enjoying every bit of it. Yes, go-kart, quad biking, like we're just set for all the if you want a place to have fun all in one. Well, Chaka is the ride for a group of friends. Choose Chaka.